Awesome. Thank you, Andrew. Appreciate everyone logging on. My name is Jim Burkhead, and a couple more quick housekeeping items. We're going to try to keep this as quick as possible while getting the information out that we want to get out. Understand everyone's time is valuable. Secondly, Andrew did mention you guys will get a recording of this afterwards, so you can go back, check in anything, and you'll have all the content. And if you have any problems seeing the screen as we go through, just shoot Andrew a message. He will let us know, and we will handle that. Next slide, just a brief background on myself and Jim Garrett, who runs our staff and workers' comp program here. And Jim, you want to touch base on yourself?
Yeah, so I'm Jim Garrett, run the workers' compensation unit for NSM. I have two programs, one the staffing book, and the other one is All Comp, which is more or less generic guaranteed cost placements. But today we'll be talking about staffing and how my product, intertwines with Jim's world on the ag side.
Yeah, and then as it says, I run a transportation insurance unit. You wonder how I get involved talking about staffing workers' comp, and the answer is that we are increasingly seeing independent contractors in the staffing world across a variety of industries. My program focuses on the transportation world, but we really feel that the coverage for independent contractors is very underserved, particularly in the staffing world. And so some of the solutions that Jim and I have found work very well for some staffing companies, and it has us just trying to get the word out to other people, just to share our solutions with them, just so everyone, as many people as possible, can see how we've done things, had success covering the exposure, and take it from there. So a little bit more about Jim and staffing lines.
So the staffing program has been around for over 25 years. It's actually the first program that was started at NSM. Today we're writing healthcare, we're writing light industrial, social services, not-for-profits, some light construction. Due to the COVID crisis, we did not put a moratorium on healthcare, but we are reviewing each individual risk. Obviously there's some red states out there today. You have New York and California and other states that have adopted the assumption bills where if you, get COVID and it wasn't part of work, you can still file a workers' compensation claim. I have about 4 in-house underwriters. We have the pen for Arch. We have a few exclusives outside of that arrangement with Church Mutual, Key Risk, and Service American. Actually, Service American, as of lately, we're actually in a position where we're actually utilizing their paper and we're actually underwriting in-house today. That's something very new. It wasn't around a couple months ago, so we're excited to have 2 pens in-house. And obviously, the lifeblood of staffing is, the pay-go. We also offer that with our program. This way the insureds are reporting monthly. They're not getting hit over the head with unexpected audits. It's very, staffing accounts are very fluid in the sense where, staffing firms are picking up contracts and dropping contracts from day to day. So the pay-go is really crucial. And recently within the marketplace, some of our competitors are no longer offering it. Next slide. So this is NSM. We're powered by them. So Jim and I are on the umbrella of NSM. Our footprint is in, the UK, the US. We got offices in Texas, Illinois, PA, New Jersey, Florida, Louisiana, Ohio. We're currently over $1 billion in GWP. And the beauty about working with Jim and myself, if you write one piece of with me, you have access to the rest of our programs within the house of NSM. So that means 30 niche programs that, potentially could help you round out your book. We only work with A-rated or better partners. We have had the same partners for many, many years. And that's from, obviously, great underwriting on our part and, good P&Ls. Our retention rate is unbelievable, from a 90%. I mean, most carriers were typically dropping down the 80s, and we're able to hold at 90. So, I mean, it's just something to say about the service that we provide. And there really are no walls within the organization. We really work together and try to see where there are opportunities and maybe new growth opportunities for one another. Next slide. So obviously COVID hit and no one was prepared for that. So I can tell you candidly, my book's probably down about 30% because payrolls were down about 30%. You know, it's been a tough year from a staffing environment. Obviously, when folks are, you know, going back to work, these, you know, or the placements are taking place, they're typically hiring back their folks before they're hiring back tempers. And then you throw some independent contractors in there, and that's kind of where Jim comes in, where you can actually provide an OCAC policy for those independent contractors. As it stands today, we can write up to about, I would say, 10% of 1099 independent contractors. And how we're doing it is we're associating a payroll to that independent contractor, which really doesn't make sense because, you know, you're kind of getting hit over the head with that workers' compensation premium, where it'd be cheaper and more efficient to actually go out and get a separate OCAC policy for that independent contractor. So, you know, in the past, you know, we really haven't seen many opportunities where, you know, it would be a fit for our arch or one of our markets because of all those independent contractors. But when you throw in, you know, Jim's product in there, it's a, you know, it's a big sell for us, and it's actually opened us up for more options. What else? And that's really how we're being innovative today. So it's really Jim and I partnering up and figuring out how we can, you know, help each other out and write more business within this upside down marketplace.
And as Jim mentioned, you know, we are seeing more independent contractors in the marketplace. And I think, you know, one thing is to try to nail down when we say independent contractor, what specifically are we talking about? You know, and this is somebody who is not an employee. This is somebody who is essentially got to look at them as their own business owner. Increasingly in the staffing world, we're seeing them as professionals, highly educated professionals, you know, white collar type jobs, be it healthcare, be it attorneys, doctors, you know, you name it. So, you know, how do we find for them, as Jim mentioned, you know, the pure comp program, you are able to entertain this exposure, but we found it much more efficient and affordable to look at, as Jim mentioned, a true occupational accident product. And what is OCAC? You know, OCAC is where they are going to get a product that has some disability, that has an accident medical limit. It has death and dismemberment payouts, but it's going to be about 40% cheaper than a comparable workers' comp policy because there are limits on the payout and the disability payment. It's a much more limited product than comp, but in the vast majority of states, really technically all states, but you know, some de facto versus what's on paper is different sometimes. You know, nearly every state independent contractor is eligible to purchase this occupational accident in lieu of workers' compensation. So that is an area that we are going increasingly more. One thing that we have found too is that when an independent contractor has access to some coverage, they are less likely to sue the employer claiming employee status and trying to get true workers' comp benefits and or other full-time employee benefits. So it's really a catch where the independent contractor is going to be limited from seeking, you know, full benefits. So it's a very nice product. It really creates a win-win for the independent contractor, for the staffing company, for any company they may be working for, all the way around. So, you know, what is an OCAC policy? This shares a little bit more, like I mentioned, has medical, has disability, death and dismemberment benefits. You see some information there on what we need for, you know, submission, average rates. Obviously, a lot of this is going to depend on the area, the type of work that is being done, the actual exposure is. A couple other things to mention is a lot of times these OCAC policies are dovetailed with what we call contingent liability. And what contingent liability policy does, buttons up if that independent contractor does try to claim employee status. So it will either pay the comp benefits or it will defend that staff company and or the company they're working for in court, trying to prove that they are an independent contractor. So again, that's just a little bit more about what is actually in an occupational accident policy. We're looking at monthly payments as well. Jim mentioned the pay-as-you-go monthly payments. This will have, you know, monthly schedule that is submitted with the independent contractors for that staffing company that are enrolled in the policy, and that is going to fluctuate by month as independent contractors come on and off the policy. So they'll opt in. We mentioned the cost benefit savings. How that works is a couple different ways. The product itself is less expensive than workers' comp, and also two, many companies, staffing companies, will pass the cost on to the actual independent contractor, relieving themselves of the total cost. So, there'll be a monthly deduction from the independent contractor that they will then pay the group occupational accident policy. Case study, it's always better to see things in concrete. It's always better to see how something works in the real world. We had a mutual insurer, it was a Pennsylvania healthcare staffing company. We identified 120 independent contractors that we moved to an OCAC program while maintaining comp for the office staff for the actual staffing company, and then comp for temp staffing that were used by that staffing company, and ended up saving about over $100,000 annually. So there are real world examples where we have paired this and used this, one, to adequately cover the exposure, but two, to deliver some savings. Keys to success, I think a couple things to look for is one, and this is really, a lot of this is what we look for in an independent contractor versus employee relationship. And I think, obviously understanding as best you can yourself and working with carriers or partners that truly understand the difference between an independent contractor and an employee, which varies by state, by situation, and being able to navigate that and getting comp for the employees, knockback for the independent contractors is always helpful. And then ensuring that the comp carriers you're working with will not audit for and try to pick up the OCAC at audit, which we do see a fair amount of comp carriers in the space try to do. They want to add the premium, but working with a carrier like Jim, partner like Jim, who understands that the comp cannot be picking up the OCAC is also crucial. So, like we said, it's a powerful combination. We've used it realistically in a variety of cases. We're trying to get the word out. Not necessarily, obviously, hey, we want to work with as many people as we can work with, but then for other people as well. The more I think companies in this space are aware of what is out there, the better they will be covered, and the more professional the base, the wholesale base, the carrier base in this world is, and I think the better off everyone will be. Everyone will be kept happy. Jim, anything you want to throw in there?
No, nice job.
Okay. So we are here to be resources, to help walk anyone through a situation, to help identify what the exposure is, best way to approach it. We also have a wide network in this area that we can obviously connect people with, be it attorneys, be it other carriers. We're here to help. Whatever we can do to make your business better, to help your insureds, and to deliver solutions is why we're here, why we're doing this webinar. So please, feel free to reach out. We'll get back to you quickly, help get you in the right place. If you have any questions, please shoot them over to Andrew, and Jim and I are more than happy to answer.
Yeah, I'll jump in there. Just a reminder that if you still have any questions, to please use the question function within GoToWebinar. We did have a few come up during the presentation, so we'll get started with those. The first was, how do you keep the pay to the independent contractor from being picked up at audit? And are they excluded on the workers' compensation policy?
So from a workers' compensation policy, yeah, we can do a designated employee endorsement. And as long as there's a OCAC policy in place, yes, they can be excluded.
Okay, awesome. The next question was, on the slides, it mentioned that you guys had a dedicated claims team. Could you talk a little bit more about what that means and the value for an agent?
Yeah, so, we have a top-notch in-house claims team. I would say we got about 8 folks who, support the programs internally. And really what we do is obviously we utilize on our TPAs, our third-party administrators that we work with, but also we more or less are a QC in-house. And, on the comp side, we're always looking to see if there are situations where adjusters have heavy caseloads, and we're going through and seeing whether or not, there's subro, potential, on a claim. The guy that runs our claims team is Dave Gagliardi. He's an ex-defense, claims attorney. He's been in the industry a very, very long time. And I got to tell you, he's probably saved my program in excess of a few $1 million in the past couple of years.
Awesome. And then you Jim, you went into a little bit of detail about how the PAYGO plan works, but someone just asking for just some additional details.
So yeah, the PAYGO is you report your payroll monthly, and that's how you're going to be paying your premium based off of that rate per 100, based off of the actual payroll that's being submitted. And the beauty of that is you're not, you're not getting nailed it with an AP of $1 million later on an audit. And the fact that staffing is so fluid, they're picking up and dropping contracts left and right. So it's just the most efficient way to do it. It really is, if you're going to be in a staffing space, that's the main product to have.
Great. And then the last question is just going back to the OCAC. What do you think should be the top selling point for OCAC when I'm pitching it to my clients?
I think there's a few different, good points to make and ways to illustrate why it is beneficial for the staffing company. And again, OCAC can be used with a variety of different industries. Really anyone that has independent contractors and can track the independent contractors working for them. But one, like I mentioned, is the cost savings. That if the company is counting independent contractors as full-time employees and is paying the workers' comp premium, they can find significant and immediate savings, moving them to an OCAC program that is legal, that is valid.
Right.
Two, it is good, adequate coverage, and it keeps the independent contractors happy. And the vast majority of issues and or claims they have will be handled by the OCAC coverage itself. If they're out of work, they will be getting paid out of work due to an injury that occurs while they're working, I should mention. They will be getting disability. If they have a severe injury, they will have medical expenses covered. So it's a way to keep the independent contractors happy. It's a way to produce cost savings, and we can manage it in a pretty efficient way that I think can really also deliver benefit to the staffing company in that, it's not an administrative headache for them where they have to have somebody's full-time job, just adding, deleting, tracking, getting out certificates of insurance. That's an area where we can step in and deliver a solution there to make their life as easy as possible.
And Jim nailed it on the head. I mean, that's the entire point of this presentation.
Great. That's the last question if you guys want to wrap things up.
I just wanted to say thank you for your time. I hopefully this was beneficial to whoever's on here. And again, like Jim said before, if you have any questions, concerns, comments, feel free to reach out to me. Our contact information's on this slide. So hopefully we start seeing some flow because of it.
Well, thanks for your time. Have a great week.
Yeah, take care.